Mishnah, Psachim, base and base. So, or, first word no or. Now the Gemara is going to go into a whole thing about what does or mean. And or means Leil, the evening of the 14th. You boidek as a chometz. So you're searching for chometz, leor haner, for the light of the candle. So Rashi, or la'arba aser garsinan. What does anyone do with that? What's Rashi going on about here, garsinan? It's like French, garçon. Anything?
Especially Garci.
Garcinan. That's just that we're missing some letters there. So I'm putting in a nun and a double nun there. So some people say that there's the Girsha out there of lo or arba aser, which would mean the night of the 14th, i.e. from the 14th going into the 15th. So Rashi has to dafka say that it is the evening of the 14th, which is going to be the night of the 14th, Leil 14, that comes before the day 14, that comes before Pesach itself. So I mean, this is when we do it, so it's a bit easy, 2,000 years later, that we just go like this Mishnah. So Leil Arba Asar is you do it the night of the 14th, as the 14th enters the day. So Laor Haner, Rashi here says, Begamora Mefarish. The time of the Gemara is going to explain the time at. Now, we have, again, down here, Begamora Mefarish, and then he says Mefarish Begamora. Is there any difference between Begamora and Mefarish, or it's all the same? So does Gemara. Obviously, Gemara Mefarish. Oh, the Gemara is going to explain, but he flips it here. Mefarish Begamora. Is that just a mikra? Bודקין. So why are we searching for the chometz? Says Rashi, Shlo yavor alav bali or bali matzeh, so that we're not over bali or bali matzeh. Now, to be clear here, if you have a case of where, if somebody is oines and he cannot check his house, he can't do a badika in his house. Rashi says the whole point of the badika is lo yavor bali or bali matzeh. Does he benefit anything by leaving his house? He just entered into. He was honest. He didn't do the badika. He's over bali rotza, but he's an oines, so therefore he doesn't have the avera. Does he have to get out? Does leaving the house help at all? Does he have to go to his his in-laws or go to a hotel? His house is full of chametz. So the Isser of Bali Roy and Bali Motza means it can't be found and it can't be seen. Not that you can't see it and you can't find it. So if you have chametz in your house and you put a little curtain over it, that's not going to help. Because even though it can't be seen, or even if you hide it so it can't be found, it means that it cannot be found, i.e. you don't own it. So once you own it, then it doesn't help. So if the guy's own it, whatever, so the whole pshat of the Bedika is that you find the chametz to get rid of it, and when you've got rid of it, so therefore you won't have it, and then you won't be over bali ore bali matzah. So bali ore bali matzah is just that you don't own the chametz, not that, or that the chametz isn't yours. It's not that you can't find it or see it. So kol makom, any place. So kol is a riboy here. She'ein machnisim bo chametz, that you don't bring chametz into it, you don't need to do a badika. So therefore, your bedrooms, if you don't bring chametz into your bedrooms, these type of places, you don't need to do a badika. So then the Mishnah asks, Ubama Amru. There's a girsa here. It also changes it to Velama. Up here, Velama. Velama Amru Beishoros B'martef. So why, since we've just said that anywhere you don't bring chametz in, then you don't have to do a badika. You don't bring a martef is a wine cellar. So you don't bring chametz into a wine cellar. So therefore, why there's a mission later on that says that you have to do a badika of 2 lines of the rows of wine barrels. So why does it tell us to do that? Lama, why does it say that? Seeming as that's a place where you don't bring in chametz. And the Mishnah answers, Makum shemachnisim bo chametz That is a place, a martef, where you bring chametz in. So if you're a professional wine maker, so you don't bring your bread into the martef, into the cellar. You go to work, and then while you're at work, you're in the cellar looking at your barrels, but you don't bring your food there. There's a martef, a wine cellar that you draw wine for the Suda, for the meal. That is the wine cellar that Beis Hillel, Beis Shammai are having their maklokas on, but a stam martef, you do not need to do bedika, because it is a place she'ein machnisin bo chametz, and only the martef that you're bringing in your wine into, your Suda, you bring your bread from the Suda and you put it up. So that's why that's the rows that they're talking about. Beis Shammai oimrim beis sheiros al panei kol hamartef. So Ubama Amru Lekaman B'mat Nisan. Later on in the Mishnah, Beis Shammai says, so he says two shayros. Shachavis is sedeiros b'martef, of the chavis that are musudar, that are arranged in the martef of wine, the cellar. It needs to do a bedika in between. Beinehem is in between the barrels. After we said that kol makom shein machrisin bo chametz, we don't need to do a bedika. So therefore, why does we have to do a bedika? We explained, they only said only in the martef that you bring in chametz, like the martef shemispatek meimenu yain leshulchano. So since you are supplying your wine for the table from here, and sometimes the shamish is standing and he's mixing up the wine, and his bread is in his hand, and when the wine is done, he enters into the martef to bring more wine. So he's got his bread in his hand as he's going down, and that causes this whole wine thing. Tu shoris al panei kol hamartef, but Gemara Mefarish Maihi. So again, this is the same Gemara Mefarish as we have up here. But Gemara Mefarish. So we have two shoris al panei kol hamartef, and Beis Hillel oimrim shtei shoris achitzaynei shehen ha'elyonis. And Rashi here now says Mefarish Gemara. So what's this Mefarish Gemara? What's wrong with Hillel here? In Hebrew, it's always the first word in the sentence that is the ikr of the sentence. So here, the Mefarish is more important than the Gemara, and here the Gemara is more important than the Mefarish. So where we have La'or Haner, the Gemara is just going to explain to you, why do I need to use a ner? It's a simple question. So you're telling me to bring a ner. It's not a pella. It's not like, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I have a stira on the whole of Judaism. I don't think I'm going to be Jewish anymore because he asked me. They're going to say, why you have to bring a ner? To shorish al kol hamartef. So there are two rows on the face of all the martef. I just don't necessarily understand what that means, and the Gemara is going to explain what that means. However, when it comes to Hillel says two shorish achitzonis. So it's the outside rows. Then they're the up and they're the top. So if they're the outside, they're not the Eliona, and if they're the Eliona, they're not the Chitzona. So there's a stira ba'etzem in Hillel. So therefore, the Mefarish Gemara, because it's mamash a pella what Hillel's saying. So the Pirush is going to be, I need this to be explained. If no one tells me what the ner, I can make up my own reason for a ner. If no one tells me what Beis Shammai Shita here is, I'll say whatever, two rows on the face of all the martef. I'll come up with some type of peshat. But here, the Hillel is basically unintelligible. The two outside rows are not the two top rows. So that's a Mefarish Gemara. Now, I'm having some issues with AI. I couldn't get it to make some proper pictures here, but this is what I got from my martef. So the purple on the left here we have Beis Shammai, and on the purple row. So this is the first row anyway. Al panei kol hamartef. So as you enter into the martef, the what's facing you, that whole row you have to check. Now there's a maklokas in the Gemara. That's also this row and the row that's directly behind it. So all the row that's directly behind it and all the way across the whole face. So it's one row and then the row behind it. Or it's this row and then all the top row, all the way back. You have to look at all the top row because maybe you'll put your bread there. Now again, this won't be the type of martef that you are using for your Suda, because this is a professional martef place. But that's Shitas Beis Shammai, the whole of the front, and then either all the top or all the row that's directly behind us. Now Hillel, will have all this top row you have to check. Now, one sheet is also the bottom row, and then one sheet is this row, and then the row directly behind it, which is the upper row. So the upper row at the top, and this row at the top. So you got like the corner, the two corner, or the two top rows. That's the sheets of Hilul and Shammai. Weiter. So that's the Mishnah with Rashi, all good so far. Comes Tosfot and starts making trouble. Orla arba aser botkin chometz perish a contras. Shlola vor lava bali bali matze. So again, we said that Rashi's whole reason why are we checking for chometz is in order to not be over this bali bali matze. So you don't have chometz when Pesach comes in. You're not going to have chometz. Kasha lari kevin de tzorch bitul. So the Gemara later on in Vav Amabais says that we have to do bitul. Hapoidek tzarech sheyibatel. So when you're doing the bidik, you have to do a bottle of the chometz. And since you have to do a bottle of the chometz, Tosfot says here midiraisa bebitul ba'al masagi. So since you have to do a bittul of the chometz before you do the bedika, so since the rice of the bittul works, so therefore amai hitzrichu chachamim bedika klal. So Tosfot is saying that you don't need it for bali or bali matzeh because you mevatled all your chometz. Since you mevatled all your chometz, so therefore there is no issue of bali roy because it's mevatel to deraisa. There's no avera of bali or bali matzeh. So therefore, why are you doing a bidikah? It's not for bali yiroeh because you've done the bittul. So therefore, how can so it's seemingly a good kasha on Rashi. There's a bittul that you have to do. Since it's bittul, you're not over the raisa. So what does Rashi say? You're doing the bedika. So you're not over bali or bali matzeh. You're not over anyway because you're mevattled. Avenira Lari, Dafel Gav the Sogi Bebitul. So this is the reason, according to Tosfos, why we're doing Bedika. Even though Bitul's enough, Ba'alma, Hachmiro Chachamim, Le Bedika. So that the Bedika is really just a din Chachamim, whereas Rashi is really making it look like more of at least a hechsher deraisa. So Hachmiro Chachamim livdok chometz, Ula Avoiro, and to remove it, Shalo Yevo La'achlo, so you don't come to eat it. So this is the reason that Tosfos has, is that you have to do a biur chometz because you might come to eat chometz that is yours. Now, any chometz that's not yours, you're not going to come to eat. So if you go to Walmart or Tesco, whatever the supermarkets are, Ralph's, during Pesach, there's no chashash you're going to come and eat the chometz that's there, because during the year, you don't eat the chometz. You don't just start eating off you have to buy it first and then eat it. Bring it home and eat it. So but the chometz that you own, you are going to eat. And even if you have the whole, I sold it, the idea is that you have chometz and you're kind of going to want it after Pesach. So therefore, you're like das is on it. And therefore, to have that, there's a problem that you're going to end up eating it. So therefore, this is why. And the Gemara says, so Rashi has to agree to this, because the Gemara says in a few places that you're going to come to eat it. So Rashi agrees with this. So Tosfos is just saying, Poshet, that so you don't come to eat it, and this is really a din d'Rabbanan. Kein mashma lekaman. Now here, Tosfos says kein mashma. Why does he say mashma? Seemingly this is a complete proof. On Yud Amud Beis, the boy Rabbah, Kikar b'Shemi Kairu. So that you have the up high, there's a piece of chometz that is up on the rafters. It's up in the ceiling rafters, and it's there, but you're not going to eat it. It's in the it's out of sight, out of mind. You can just mevatel it. O dilma zin denafel va'atil mechila. Maybe it's going to fall, and you come to eat it. So the fact that we see from there that if it falls during the Chag, then you're going to eat it, even though you mevatled it. V'hatam shachmiru kan tefei. So that's Tosis Ashita. Now, why is it only mashma here? That it seems that there you're chayav deraisa to mevatl this chometz that you have up on the rafters, and yet it falls down and you're going to come to eat it. So therefore, why is this not? Tosis just says it's mashma. It's not a raya berura. So here in Tosis, this is a chometz yedua. This chometz is known. Since you know about it, that type of chometz, you might come to eat it because you know about it. And since you know about it, and even though you mevatled it as a different din of chometz you don't know about it, and then you find it. So it could be that Rashi agrees. For chometz that you know about, you might come to eat it, and that type of chometz you have to get rid of. But chometz you don't know about, so there the whole thing is for, that's what the bedika is for, the chometz you don't know about, not the chometz you do know about. So Tosfot is saying that even the chometz you do know about, you have to do the bedika for it and get rid of it, because even though you mevatled it, you might come to eat it during the Chag. So Tosfot is saying now, why are we machmir davka on chometz when other so we've already mevatled it, so therefore why we've been so machmir, we get this double covering. Tefei mi b'sar isurei hana. Shelo hisrucha lebaram, we don't need to destroy other isurei hana because chometz is matar kol hashana. So orla is never matar. You're not eating orla all year, and then it's orla time and you can't eat it anymore. Velo nes or rak b'pesach. So since chometz, you're used to eating chometz. So therefore, when you see a kosher chocolate bar that has chometz in it, you're used to eating it. So therefore, the fact that it's Pesach now, that's where you may come to eat it be'isr. Velo b'dile mineh, you won't separate yourself from it, as we say later on. And it's not similar to basar b'chalav, v'orla, v'kalei karim. So all those osrim are not isr oilam because they're osir forever. And nazir is also, it will be mutter after a time. After zman, the nazir will be mutter, so therefore the isr of chometz is different. Yeah, so we see on a Daladama base, we see that it talks about Bitul. The Gemara says Bitul. Rashi, but Bitul ba'alma. So we so far we have a clear machlokas as to what the purpose of bedika is. Why do we have a bedika? So Rashi here, but Bitul ba'alma, dichtiv tashbiso. The pasuk says tashbiso. Tashbiso is Shabbos. We have to destroy the chometz. The lokativ ta'aboru. So the Biur is actually destroyed. So the lashon in the pasuk is tashbisu. It didn't say be'er to destroy it. The hashavas deleiv, and therefore the bitul is beleiv hashavta. So that Rashi is learning that the bitul is a din beleiv. So the tashbisu, it didn't write teberu because teberu is physically destroying it, and therefore hashbasa is a din in leiv. Tosfos midaraisa bebitul ba'al masagi perish b'kontras midichtiv tashbisu v'lokativ ta'abaru alma hashbasa belevi. So here, so clearly, Rashi is learning that you can mevatel the chometz belev. The kasha l'ri, but Ri doesn't like this. The high hashbasa ha'avarahi. He says the lashon is the same lashon. That's what hashbasa means. It means to destroy it. Shabbos is in here. Shabbos is it comes to an end. Really, you have Shabbos is like you stop in the middle. So you have Vayichulu, Kala is you come to an end, so that the 6 days of creation are over. There's no more 6 days of creation. The 6 days that came after it are not days of creation. But Shabbos stops, like you're in the middle of emails, Shabbos comes, then you do your emails again after Shabbos. But Tosis is saying, Hashbata is the same as Sabarahi. V'lo bitul. Titania b'shemasis and Rab Kiva ein sarech harei hu oimer tashbisu umatzinu lahabara shehi av malacha. We see that Biur is an av malacha, anod tashbisu amrinan lekaman man chalak shehu mishei shaos v'lamala v'amar isra lo mahani betul. Now that's going against Rashi, but the key we want to see here is Varmer read the midiraisa bitul ba'al masagi. What does that mean? Mitam de mi'acher shebitlo havi hefker. So now this is the classic case of bitul is hefker. So Tosfot here is holding that bitul is hefker. And then, therefore, when you mevatel your chometz, you hefker your chometz. Since you hefker the chometz, it's outside of your reshut. V'yetzim reshuto u'mutter. So since you hefkered it, it's not in your reshus anymore. Midakamrinan aval ata roya eta alachirim v'shal gavuo v'hadamrinan b'nadar hefker b'fnei shlosha midaraisa ein sarach. So here we have the bitul and its hefker. So b'kitzur, Rashi has a bitul b'leiv, and Tosfot has a bitul hefker. So we have two maklokasim. One maklokas is what is what is the din of Biur and what's the din of bitul. So to some nafkaminas to understand again Rashi's bali motze and Tosfot says you're going to come to eat it. If you have chometz that you find, let's say you don't do the Biur chometz on the night of the 14th, and then you're supposed to do it in the morning of the 14th. Then you don't do it then, and then you want to do it in the moed. If you don't do it in the moed, then you do it. Then you do it after the moed. Over there's a maklokas in. This is the Mishnah here. So Rabbi Kiva Omer Bודקין or Yodalid. So you do it in the or Bitul Shachris. So if you didn't do it, then you do it in the Shachris. Biur. So and then you have to do it b'shas Biur. So perish conscious b'shas shishis. So Bodak b'tocha oimed. B'tocha hamoyed is here. Lo Bodak but Yodalid yibdok b'tocha oimed. Rashi says b'shas shishis. Now according to Rashi, if you never did a Biur, you never did the bedika during the Chag, do you have to do it after Chag? Like Pesach is over, do you still have to do the bedika according to Rashi?
Seemingly not, because the prohibition was on seeing and finding it.
Seemingly not, because there's no bali roa anymore. According to Tosfot, do you have to do the bedika after?
Yes.
Why?
Because there you're actually you're mocking it, you're getting rid of it, and so there's still a prohibition on owning it anymore. You're not supposed to have that chametz that was there.
Why not?
Why wouldn't you say
Pesach is over. So why does Tosfot need a bedika after?
Well, it wasn't on finding it. It was just you have to get rid of it, right?
You didn't. No, you did. No, the point of the bedika is maybe you're going to come to eat it. Mm-hmm. So it's not Pesach anymore.
Okay. You don't accidentally eat chametz shavar on Pesach.
Chametz shavar. It's a Pesach. The Pesach is still also going to still. Everyone holds you can't eat it. But Rashi doesn't have any issue. Rashi doesn't care about eating it. That's not why you're doing the bedika. You're doing the bedika again. Maybe he's holding for chametz yidua that you have to do the bedika, but the bali matzah is not there after Pesach. So therefore, Rashi says you don't need to do it. So therefore, Rashi's learning that b'tocha moed, which is obviously b'tocha moed means during Pesach. He says it's b'shas sheishis because lo bodok b'tocha moed yivdoch la'achar moed. That goes beautifully for Tosfos. Because for Tosfot, since the whole din is that you have to eat it, is that so you might come to eat it, so therefore Chometz Lefes a Pesach, you might come to eat that as well. So you have to do the Pesach after Moed, but Rashi can't learn Lachar Moed because according to Rashi, Lachar Moed, you have to do it. So he has this funky B'shah Sheishis v'kasha de Rabbi Yehuda Kirile Shasei Biur v'lama Shina Lashona. Why is he changing the Lashon? Ele b'tocha Moed hayinu metchila Sheva. So metchila Sheva is when the Isser chometz starts at the beginning of 7. So deraisa, you can't have chometz after midday. So that's the 7th hour. You have these funky ways of telling time. So 7 is like 6 o'clock because it's the 7th hour. The 6 o'clock is midday. It's not 12 because they only have daylight hours, so you've already lost half your day with 6. But already, Techila Sheva, so Deraisa, it's a 7, and then the Chachamim add 2 hours to Rabbanan to that Deraisa time. So, B'tocha Moed, so Toisa says in Techila Sheva, ad Sofa Pesach, v'la'achar Moed yivdoch, and achar Moed yivdoch, kadei shlo yavor lo chametz shel iser. That's the B'shel Heter v'yachlenu. So that's the chametz lo avis Pesach. So don't eat it then. And for Rashi, lo ratzeh leferish kain. He doesn't want to explain this because he explained in our Mishnah that bודקין shlo yavor b'bali roya. This Tosfot is saying there. So he's saying, right, again, if you ask 100 people in the streets, what does b'tocha moed mean? And they'll say in the middle of Pesach. And Rashi's saying, Shasheshes, so Tosfot is saying, yeah, Rashi would go like me. Everyone agrees it's b'tocha moed. However, because he's learning this b'toch shlo yavor b'bali roya. Now, let me just show that this, if you look at this here, Tosfot here says, so you have a little a Mercedes sign here, which goes to the Gilina Shas. Ein lekaman yod amabeis toises erilach ve'im lo bodak. So the Rabbi Kiveger is Messiah that Shas, which is so toises. So here we have one of the nafkaminas between Rashi and Tosfot, which is Messiah by the Rabbi Kiveger. There is that. Do you need to do a bedika after the moed if you haven't done it beforehand? That's one nafkamina. Another nafkamina is, as I said before, if you're oines and you can't do the bedika, according to Rashi, you don't have to leave the house because you're still over whatever. You're not over bali roya because you're an oines. We saw in Ksuvos that an oines you didn't do it, so you didn't do the avera. You're an oines. According to Tosfos, can you stay in the house?
Oh, because you might eat it.
No, because you might eat it. So now you have an akmina. Now we have here. It's really quite a geschmack here. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Hamoitzi chametz bebeitzo. If you find chametz in your house biyom tov, koifu alav es a kli. You flip a kli over it. So again, this is on yom tov. So Rashi says here. So later, so the Gemara says if you find it before the Chag, you make a mechitza. So ba'arba aser mishum heker. You need to have a heker of your mechitza to separate yourself from the chametz. Shelo yishkach, you won't forget and you come to eat it. So Rashi has this idea of eating stuff if you don't. Again, this is chametz yidua. V'lo sagi le b'kafiyas kli. So the Gemara just said that if you find it on Yontiv, just flip a kli over it, you're good. But it's not enough. If you find it before the Chag, you don't have time to destroy it. It's not enough to put a kli kol sheva. Because the kli for all 7 days is not going to work. Because the kli will be taken l'tzorach. It'll be someone's just going to take the kli and use it for something. But this idea above is not possible, lay. But mechitza, you can't do lo efshar le b'mechitza. Umisham chad yoma sagi le b'kafiyas kli. So why don't we have to have a mechitza for this idea? So Rashi here's asking, why when you find the chametz bebeito on Yontov, why don't you make a mechitza? And his answer is because 1 day it's enough to do with the kafiyas kli. Because 1 day is enough for a kli. But a kli for 7 days is no good. If a kli for 1 day is good enough. But what's Rashi asking here? Why don't you make a mechitza? Let me see a question. Why don't you make a mechitza on Yontov? Pasha says it's also you can't make a wall on Yontov. So what's Rashi even asking here? B'chal. Now, the din of making a mechitza is that you're allowed to make a mechitza arai, but you're not allowed to make a mechitza materis. So a mechitza that's matter, something like a wall for sukkah or something that has a halachic nafkamina, where let's say you're creating a new domain for something. So there, you're not allowed to make that on Yontov. So Tosfos would ask the question, it's poshut that you can't make a mechitza because you're not allowed to live. You're not allowed to live in the house with the chametz. So therefore, by making the mechitza, you're now allowing yourself to live in the house with the chametz, and therefore it'll be a mechitza hamateres. Because for Tosfot, you're making a mechitza to separate the chametz. Now you're not going to come to eat it. Now you're allowed to live in the house, and therefore it becomes a mechitza materes. For Rashi, the mechitza doesn't matter or anything because you're allowed to live in the house. So therefore, this mechitza is not mattering anything. It's a mechitza arai that's just separating from the chametz. Therefore, we can see in this Rashi that nafkamina coming out. So a toitzah of this nafkamina. What if you have a case? Let's say you have a room you sold during Chag, and you want to go in there and get something from it. Are you allowed to enter the room? Or let's say you sold your house, and then you needed something. There was something in your house you had to go and get. Are you allowed to go back into the house and get it? Because you're selling the chametz in the house, so you didn't sell your Wi-Fi dongle or whatever the hell it is you need in there. So are you allowed to go back into the house? It's on Pesach. You've left on the first day, and day 5 you're like, oh my, I need this. I need a coat. I need a hat. I need a whatever. Are you allowed to go back in?
According to Rashi, no.
So according to Rashi, yes, and according to Tosfot, no. Because according to Tosfot, maybe you're going to go in, eat the chametz that you sold.
All right.
But in Rashi, who cares? It's not, you're not over Bali Roy because it's not your chametz. Now, in the case of Bitul, so when we do the kol chamira, do you have to say Lashon Hefker in the kol chamira?
Doesn't this also then
So Tosfot says you have to say Hefker, and Rashi, who cares? You don't have to say anything. The Ran says that you're not allowed to mafkir through a shaliach, whatever reason. So are you allowed? Can you appoint a shaliach in order to mevatel your chametz?
Machlokas.
So Tosfos, no. Why not?
Because you're actually making it hefker. Like
you can't make a shliach for hefker. And why does it work for Rashi?
Because it's leiv. It's not actually hefker. It's
so how can he make a shliach? So he doesn't actually make the shliach. Him appointing the shaliach is a giloi of his bitul. So once he appoints the shaliach, it works. Not that the shaliach is doing anything, but him telling the shaliach will then be that giloi that he wants it mevatled. So obviously, so Bitul Belev will help according to Rashi. You need Peh according to Tosfos. So we have these two maklokusin. Now, if we have a look at here's the Ran on the Rif. Elakachu ikron shel devarim shezeh amra Torah tashpisu. Yichol l'chaim be'echad mi beis devarim. So you can do this tashpisu one of two ways. Or shebitul beliboy kol chametz sheyesh berushuso. So you can bittul all the chametz, and then you take it out of your machshava from the reshus, and it's sagi bahaki deraisa. It works at deraisa. So again, your machshava takes it out of your reshus. That's enough. Afile b'chametz yidualo. Or im lo batlu belibo klal tzarech min hatayra sheyibdoch acharav. So if you haven't done a bedika b'chlal, then you need to do a bedika. So this is already one answer for Rashi. That our Tana is talking about where you didn't do a bitul. So you didn't do a bitul, so you have to do bedika. B'chol makom shu ragil himotzei sham. Anywhere you roggle to find the chametz there, and you have to remove it from the world. And this biur is nechlu what have we remove it, is a maklokas and biur, and therefore anyone who does a mevatel is chayiv to do the bedika in order that they won't be over bali balimotza. And that's the lashon of Rashi. Lefikach katav Rashi shebodkin es chametz kadei shlo yavor alav balimotza. And that is somebody who hasn't mevatel, but somebody who has mevatel, it's enough. You do not bitul, it's enough. Bitul zeh tului b'machshava d'shel b'nei adam. Since the bitul is based on the machshava of each individual person, ve'ein desan shavus, and not everyone is equal with that. Efshar sheyikilu b'kach. Maybe you'll be mekel. V'lo yitzeu miliban legamri. So even if you did a bitul, we don't trust you to make the bitul. You have to get rid of your chametz. You have this kind of issue with the sale. Now the sale doesn't really matter if you really don't want to sell your fine whiskies, because you sold it and you signed the document. So if the goy pays the money, he gets it no matter how much you don't want it. But here the bitul belev, if you don't have a proper leiv when you're doing the bitul, so therefore it's not gonna work. So therefore the chachamim rule hachmir shlo yisuk bitul, that you don't have this stop in the bitul, and they needed the bedika as well, the biur, and that's enough also from the Torah, or because they were choishish, maybe there will be betoch beito and he will come to eat us. Umashmet the Tana. So this is or mipnei is bringing in Toisis's reason here. Mashmet the Tana. So here, so Mashmet Tana de Nisan lo boy bitul klal. So again, Toisis is saying that we need the bitul. We're saying that, well, here the Ran saying that, and our mission doesn't need it. Ele bedika uba haki sagi le lefisha mekevin shabarak yetzi da chavosta. It's enough. You don't have to do the bit. Where it says do the bitul, this Mishnah is arguing on it. So here's the Rav Ovadia Mברtnora. Botkin es chametz east the mefarshi time de bedika kadei shaloye vor al baliore balimotze. So that's Rashi. Imi chametz bebetu Pesach, if he has chametz in his house. V'afol gav the bitul ba'al misagi. So this is the kasha of Tosfot on Rashi. Chayshin and Shema yimatzeh galuska yafifa. Maybe you'll find this beautiful piece of delicacy. You got it in Roladin, one of these special Swiss delicacies they have from Roladin, and you left it in your house and you found it on Pesach. V'yimloch, and he's going to change his mind on his bitul. V'yachshav alei, and he'll think on it, la'achla, and he'll think to eat it. V'yavor alav al bali roi bali motzeh, and then he'll be over bali roi bali motzeh. So since you can have this chazara, since you have, again, it's Tuluy b'zeh b'zeh. Since bitul for Rashi is bitul belev, that bitul can be undone. Since that bitul can be undone, you can be over bali rori bali matzeh. If you find food, you be over bali rori bali matzeh. So therefore, you have to. Therefore, halkak botkin mesochametz kadei levar min ha'olam. Therefore, you have to do the bedika in order to not do bali rori bali matzeh. Because if you don't, maybe you'll come to be over bali rori bali matzeh during the chag when you find this beautiful delicacy that's chametz. The Easter Amri, that's nice to go on Tosfos. Time at the bedika gezer shema yimatzeh chametz bebeito bepesach v'yechlenu. That's Tosfos. Kevin she'ein ragali yosbatel mimenu kol shayim osashana. That since even though it's aser, so Tosfos is saying it's not you don't eat orla, etc., but you do eat chametz during the year, so therefore you might come to eat it. And the Tosfos yontiv, because of a Rav, Yafal gav the bitul ba'al masagi di alfina midichtev tashbisu v'lokativ tavoro v'hashbatat lo. The law hashpata could perish Rashi. Shama yimotza. Vim lacha bitul v'yechashiv a kloimer. To kamosha bebitul ba'alma dehinu belev. So since that the bitul ba'belev, that is yechshav belivu ki'ilu who offer sagi b'kach. So again, the Rashi is that again I have no chashivas on this. It's the bitul belev. Afal pishalo hoitze besiftav. He didn't say it with his lips. Klom. He didn't say anything. Hachanami b'machshava ba'alma chayzer mi bitulu. So it's totally again that since he never said it, then he can undo it without saying it. Now, according to Tosfot, if you're mafkaris and then you find it, why don't you just rezoike it on Pesach? According to Rashi, you did it believe, and then you undid it. So Rashi's like a lemafreya. You undid the bitul. There was never a bitul on this. Now Tosfot doesn't go lemafreya, but still, like, let me zoike it now. I find this beautiful pastry. Let me zoike it now. So Tosfot doesn't have that problem. Why not? So Tosfos has the issue because when you find it on Pesach, it's also you can't be zoiche it on Pesach because it has no value. It's also bahana, so you can't be zoiche it. So therefore, the hefker for Tosfos works because you can't be rezoiche it because it's also bahana. It's got no value. It can be. There's nothing to be zoiche. There's nothing to be to retake. So for Rashi, if you're going lemafreya, so now it creates the issue, and the Tosfos doesn't have that problem. The Ran says further on that again only Rashi has this problem of chayzer because we're chayzer, so they won't battle it b'machshava since it's machshava. So again, if you don't like Tosfos, if you mafker it b'peh, so therefore, like I don't care what your lave is, but when you're dealing with the lave, then we have a problem. And also the Ritva says that bedikas chametz is only b'di'evid. The lahachi katav rachman lashon tashpisu she nechlau af lashon bitul v'shmin kro de'i anis v'lo matzi bodik v'bitul da'avid kodem zman isura sagile. So it's that if you have, it's just that the Torah is allowing you that if you have this issue, where you have to do a bedika, if you were oinus and you didn't do the bedika, so then it will be enough with the bidievid bitul. But I mean, Tosfos is kind of using it as a lechatchila bitul here. Ritva says it's only bidievid. So that's why. So again, that's why Rashi is learning that it is bali rice and bali matzah, because taka, if you don't do it, maybe if you do find the chum, because again, if you don't do a bedikin, you don't find anything, so you're not going to eat it, and you're not going to be over bali or bali matzah. So the bedika is there in case you'll find it. So Rashi said, well, if you find it, then you'll be over lemafrei of bali or bali matzah, but Tosfos he can't be. So therefore, Tosfos has that question, but it doesn't really start on Rashi. So now the end of Tosfos. So the Chachamaru, so Afilo Heicha, the Batla Misham, the Dilmaati le Mechla, Venira le Rashba, the Filo le Fitam, Ha'achron, even there's a second Inami, shiny Chometz. So why are we so machmir on Chometz? When other things? So we have a second reason. The Machmir Bo Tairo, La Borba Baliore Balimatze, Hachmir Chachamim Livdoch le La'avuro. So we got two things. You got to be boydek and you got to remove it. If you hecha the bitlo, even after the bitl, misham dil ma'ati le michla, and because you might come to eat it. So there's a since you have the biur by Yori Balimotze, so there you have the biduk even after the bitl. Now near the Rashba, even according to the last answer, they said that the chachamim b'chol chametz, even b'chametz noksha. So you have that there's two types of chametz. That's it's machlokas in the Gemara as to whether it's chametz gomor or if you the pashas it's a lav and it's not chametz gomor. Chametz nuksha is like gone off chametz. The Panei Yeshua holds that he says that whiskey is chametz nuksha. So if you're looking for a heter for that, so chametz nuksha l'chayri, you don't have to, if you don't sell it, it's not asur. It's not chametz alav. It's a pesach. But chametz nuksha is like it's not properly chametz. We're actually going to see some now, but avialia de teruvas. So teruvas is a mixture. Is a chametz mixture. So like Rice Krispies, we'll have some chametz in it. They put like wheat flour into Rice Krispies. You'll have a chametz mixture there. So that's not chametz gomer. If you have a whole bowl of Rice Krispies, then because again most of it's going to be rice, which isn't chametz. I don't know, but I'm presuming there's not enough wheat there or chametz there to make it. And you have things like soy sauce. So people don't drink a bottle of soy sauce, but soy sauce is 50% soya and 50% wheat, and then you brew them together. So it's so that's trovas chametz. It's a mixture of chametz, but it's no carries for having it. Afal gav delika baliori lepershbenu tam bereshelu oivrin. So that's later on again when you have these two types of chametz. That's not chametz gomor. So Rabbeinu Tam says it's leka baliro. You don't have the avera. The ha'amar sior yisrof. Now this sior is different to seor. Sior or seor is a lightly chametzed dough. It hasn't really chametzed properly, and then you bake it. And then there's the Mishnah later on if it has lines or if it has a break in it, and how chametzy does it have to go before it's a problem. But basically, it's lightly chametz, but it hasn't chametz properly. So it's gone out of matzah, but it hasn't entered into chametz yet. That's what sior is. And it's something completely different to su'or. Su'or is basically a not sourdough, a starter. I don't know if you know what a starter is. Where you basically mix flour and water together, and then you feed it, and then you have this whole thing. And then from this chametzy mixture, you chametz other things. So if you make a challah on Friday morning, you can use this starter, and it will make it rise the same day, and so it doesn't have to go through the whole chametz process. So the seor is like a concentrated starter chametz that will chametz other things, and that is very chametzy, and it is complete. It's not chametz nuksha at all. So this sior is just different to seor. So the ha'amar sior yisrof, and that's the chametz nuksha. So we burn it, and it's not over baliori balimotze. It's still you have to burn it. Vahinu chametz nuksha. So that's the sior. Kudamucha chatam, as it's proven there. Ve'ikelaman tamar. It's a machlokas there. So what exactly is the nuksha, and what levels does it go? So nami hasam the kol shekain chametz gomor. So all the more so chametz gomor you have to burn. Al yedei terovos. Sorry, chametz al yedei terovos you have to burn. So cool. So you have there's a machlokas there is which is worse, chametz nuksha or terovos chametz. Chametz nuksha is not properly chametz stuff, and it's not proper chametz, but it's not matzah. And then the terovos chametz is where you have a mixture of chametz and other things. You have chametz gomor in there, but it's a mixture. So there's a machlokas as to which one is more chomor. So it's mashma to isra to keep it. So it's mashma to keep it to eat mutter, because if you're able to cover, why are you burning it then? So just keep it until after Pesach. So if you find it during Pesach, just keep it after Pesach. You have to burn. Why are you burning it? Avihi mutter is going to be mutter. Afila le Rabbi Yehuda de lo aser Rabbi Yehuda chametz achar Pesach ela b'chametz gomor. So there you have chametz gomor is what's aser after Pesach. So again, if you have bourbon, which would be a mixture of chametz, and you don't sell it, it's still mutter after I have some arguments with the kashrus agencies who say that the bourbon has to be kosher because the chashash. But it's I don't know. They were sending me some Mishnah Beruras, which I don't know if this Tosfot or the Gemara or whatever. Adika Gimel Kroi Letoch Zmano Lefila Zmano Lacher Zmano. So we have three psukim. So one is that it's also you before Zman it's also that's the extra hours beforehand on the 14th. Letoch Zmano is Pesach itself. It's also and Acher Zman is then Chametz Lavas Pesach. That's Chametz Gomor. Aval benuksha delika elechad kro afilu Rabbi Yehuda moide, but the nuksha that only has one pasuk, then therefore even Rabbi Yehuda's moide that after Pesach then it's mutter, and therefore you don't have to burn it. So b'kitzur, this end of the Rashba. Yeah, so even though that Rabbi Yehuda is Moida, that it's not also Achar Pesach, even still, then it's also to keep it until after Pesach. You have to get rid of it beforehand. So you're chayiv lebe'ero kodem Pesach. So what he brings out from all this is that ergo there has to be a chiyuv biur d'Rabbanan, because there's no deraisa din of these nukshas. This chametz nuksha, you don't have to do a biur on it deraisa, because even if you kept it the whole time, then there's no pasuk for it, and so Rabbi Yehuda's holding that you have to do a biur on it, even though if you had it over the whole of Pesach, you don't have to burn it afterwards because it's mutter. So therefore we see that there's a din of biur chametz d'Rabbanan.